Why not? People just get tired of seeing me. So, and the rabbi is away this week. The rabbi is taking a week off. I think he went to North Carolina.
A deserved vacation.
A deserved vacation for sure. Not easy being the rabbi of a synagogue. Very tough. So, we're glad everybody is with us. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat is a time of week where we can relax, take a breather. It's been a heck of a week. And, we just have to be grateful for all our blessings. And, I had a guy in this temple a few years ago, a man who really had some incredible personal things in his life, which, boy, none of us should have to go through. And he said to me one Friday night, he said, for all the centuries, for all the troubles that the Jews had, they always looked forward to Shabbat. They would say 3 days from now, 4 days from now. And it is a nice thing to look forward to. So here we are, Shabbat. And as the rabbi says, you're not allowed to be sad on Shabbat. You got to be happy. You got to be grateful for everything we have. So we're going to start with a nice nigun. This is one of my favorite melodies, written by Shlomo Carlebach. If you're home and you feel like singing with me, and you want to sing with me up here, la la da 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 da, la 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 da da da. La 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 Because of my brothers and friends, because of my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me say, peace to you, everybody. La 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 la. This is the house of the Lord. I wish the best for you. This is the house of the Lord. We wish the best for you. Ya la 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 Okay, so we're going to turn to page 120 and 121 for our candle blessing. Ginger, if you'd like to read one of the English readings on 121.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled lights, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Okay, let's sing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. On page 122 and 123, we have the Kiddush. That's how you really say it in Hebrew. And there's a nice little English reading on page 122. I'm going to read that first. Then there's a nice melody for the preamble to the Kiddush. So we'll begin on 122. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, and because on it God ceased from all the work of creation, that God had done. Richie, you'll know this melody. Vayekulu hashamayim ba'aretz v'chol tzivam vayekal Elohim bayom hashivim melakto asher asam vayishbot bayom hashivim mikom malakto asher asam vayevarek Elohim et yom hashivim vayikadesh otom kivo Shabbat mikom melakto asher bara Elohim lahasot. Take our Kiddush cup. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam boharei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinkilanu zikaron lemahaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tekilah lemikra kodesh zeker letziat Mitzrayim Ivanu Bakarta Viotanu Hidashta Mikohamim V'Shabbat Kodsheka V'Yahava Uveratzon In Kaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat Amen L'chaim. Wow, that's always good. Okay. Scott, it's been a while since you've been here. How long? Speak in the mic so we can hear you.
It's been
yeah. It's been a while. We're happy to have you here.
Glad to be here.
So you're going to do some readings with us. Ginger will do some readings with us. Let's go to 126, 127. Scott, pick one of them, and you can lead us in one of those nice readings there. Okay?
Sure. Let's go with 126.
Okay.
I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my credo. To love God is to love each other. To work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created, and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us, and to bring the vision to life.
Beautiful. Thank you, thank you. 128, we have the songs that welcome Shabbat. We always like to begin at the top of the page. Psalm 133, written by King David over 3,000 years ago. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good and how pleasant it is that brothers and sisters dwell together. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. That's one of those melodies. You can sing it every week for 30 years. You never get tired of it. At least I don't. I love that melody. Okay, we're going right down the page. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. How lovely today is. Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Going right down the page. Rich, do you remember Yedid Nefesh? Remember the melody for that? Yedid Nefesh. This is a beautiful song, a beautiful melody. Here's what it means. Heart's delight, source of mercy, draw your servant into your arms. I leap like a deer to stand in awe before you. This is one of the most beautiful songs there is. Yedid nefesh al harakaman, Yedid nefesh al harakaman, Meshok avdecha el ritzonecha, Meshok avdecha la 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 el ritzonecha. Yarutz avdecha kemo hayal, ishtaka velayray larayray el mul hadareka. Page 130. We have Psalm 95. We have a few psalms here. It's traditional to welcome Shabbat with Psalm 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and 29. So we like to pick and choose. We'll sing the opening few lines of Psalm 95. Lechuna ranana. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and redeemer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is a great God, the great ruler of all divine beings. Lechuna ranana. Lekune ranana, lekune ranana, lekune ranana Adonai. Lekune ranana, lekune ranana, lekune ranana Adonai. Naria, Naria, Litzor Yishenu, Ikad Mafanav Betoda. Naria, Naria, Litzor Yishenu, Bismirot Naria Lo. Lekune ranena, lekune ranena, lekune ranena Adonai. Lekune ranena, lekune ranena, lekune ranena Adonai. Page 138. We have Lecha Dodi. This is a beautiful poem from the 16th century, which welcomes Shabbat like it's a beautiful bride. And that's why when we get to the last verse, we all stand and we welcome the beautiful bride, which is Shabbat. Tonight we'll do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Ay, ay, ay. Shamor v'zakor b'dibor echad. Ishme'anu el hamiyukad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shemo tiferet l'tehila. Ay 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 l'echadodi. Ay 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 l'ikrat kala. Ay 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 p'nei Shabbat. Ay 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 nikabla likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelka ki mikor habracha merosh mikedem nesuka sof mahaseh v'makshava tequila. Ay 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 lekadodi. Ay 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 likrat kala. Ay 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 p'nei Shabbat. Ay 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 nikabla. Itoreri itoreri kiva orech umihori uri uri shir daberi kavod Adonai Allahik nigla. Ay 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 lekadodi. Ay 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 likrat kala. Ay 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 p'nei Shabbat. Ay 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 ikabla. We rise, if we can. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'betzola tokemune am segula. Boi kala. Please be seated. Ya ya lekadodi. Ay 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 likrat kala. Ay 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 p'nei Shabbat. Ay 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 ikabela. That was beautiful. Page 140. Psalm 92 is the psalm for Shabbat. There's a different psalm assigned every day of the week. Psalm 92 is the psalm for Shabbat. There's all kinds of different melodies for this one. And what I like is the one we've been doing here quite regularly. Go down 11 lines to where it says, Ma gadlu ma'asecha Adonai ma'od amku machshavotecha. The translation is in the middle of the page. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. And this melody was written by a woman rabbi, female rabbi, Rabbi Shefa Gold. She did one little change, Ma gadlu ma'asecha ya. Another one of God's names. Fits better with the music. All right? So this is a beautiful melody for a beautiful passage. Ma gadlu ma'asecha ya. Makshavotecha. Magadu Mahasekaya Meyoramku Makshavotecha. Mahasekaya Veyoramku Makshivoteka. One more time. Magadlu Mahasekaya Meyoramku Makshivoteka. Page 142. We have a song that we always sing every Shabbat. This is also from the masters of the Kabbalah, the mystical teachings of Judaism. And they were mainly people who came from Spain. And they came to Israel right after the Spanish Inquisition. And they settled in Sfat, many of them. So they wrote about the angels that are with us every Shabbat. And the last paragraph of this song, the last stanza says, "Depart in peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High." And we pray for them to come back to us every Shabbat. Okay? Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malakei Hasharet, Malakei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malakei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boakim L'Shalom, Malakei HaShalom, Malakei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malakei Amlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barkuni L'Shalom, Malakei HaShalom, Malakei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malakei Amlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seidchem L'Shalom, Malakei HaShalom, Malakei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malakei Amlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seidchem L'Shalom, Malakei HaShalom, Malakei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malakei Amlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 144, we have the Kaddish, which separates the different parts of the service. So that was Kabbalat Shabbat, welcoming the Shabbat. Now we're on to another part of the service. Yitkadav, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yamad Ivra Kirutei, V'yamlik Malkutei, V'kayekon, Yomekon, Ukayedekon Beit Yisrael. Bagala, Bagala, Uvizmahan Kadri Vimero, Yeheshmei Rabbam Mevarad, Leholam Ulam Me'amaya, Yitbarak Vishtabak, Yitpahar Vitrumam Yitnasei, V'yitadar V'yitaleh, Yitala, Shemei Dekudesha Barechu, Le'ela Min Kol Berchata, V'shirata, Tushbekata, V'nekemata, Damiran B'yama, V'yimeru, Amen. You know what? There's so many beautiful prayers here. On 145, you see those two prayers, Ginger? Want to pick one? You can say one, lead us in one of them. Then we'll do the Baruch Hu.
Okay.
Okay. Which one do you want to do? Whichever one you want.
The bottom one's good.
Okay.
Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence.
Beautiful. Okay, we rise for the Baruch Hu. La 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 Adonai Amevorah. Barechu et Adonai Amevorah. Baruch Adonai Amevorah le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Amevorah le'olam va'ed. Page 148, 149, we have three different versions of the prayer. We say every night, thanking God for bringing on the darkness. And in the morning, we have a prayer thanking God for bringing on the light. Miracles that happen every day. Scott, you want to pick one? 148, 149?
Sure. I think it's appropriate now for 149.
Okay.
This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back our cross for over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over?
Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Page 150, 151. We have three versions of a prayer we also say every night. Ginger, want to pick one of those? 150, 151, whichever one you'd like.
Okay, 151.
Okay.
Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Ama Yisrael.
Okay, beautiful. We rise for the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malkuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malkuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. We'll continue with the V'ahavta. Tonight, I think I'll lead it in English on page 155. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Okay. Let's continue on page 157. Ginger, want to lead that? The bottom of the page? 157? See it?
Though
Yep.
our failings.
No? In a world?
In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Beautiful. Mi chamocha. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha neda b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osei fele. Nora tehilot osei fele. Malkut tekara uvaneka. Okeya yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze'eli anu ve'amru. Ze'eli anu ve'amru. Adonai yimlo le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimlo le'olam va'ed. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha neda b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osei fele. Nora tehilot osei fele. Page 161. Scott, we have two beautiful readings there. Pick one and lead us in it.
Sure.
Okay?
Top. Well, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts. And may we lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Okay, top of the page. V'shamru. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית העולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, Shabbat vayinafash v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית olam. Okay, page 166. We all rise for the tefillah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ahel HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chassadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zoker Chazdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Reihem Lema'an Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מקיים מתים, אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מקלקל חיים בחסד, מקיים מתים ברחמים רבים, צומק נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני העפר יחמוך בעל גבורות ומיתו מלך מלך ממית ומקיים ומצמיח ישועה ונאמנת על הקיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש הקדושים בכל יום יהללוך הסלע ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Okay, please be seated. Okay. We have so many beautiful prayers in this prayer book that we kind of, we could easily skip over every week because they're here. They're all here. They're all beautiful prayers out, all here. On 171, Ginger, want to pick one of them? You want to read it for us, 171?
Sure. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it.
Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Okay, 173. Scott, how about leading us in one of those beautiful prayers?
Sure. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise.
Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Okay. On page 177, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life. wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within. For the world around us, so filled with beauty. For the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot. Now, the last blessing of the tefillah in the morning and at night is always a blessing for peace in the world. So, on page 178, we will sing Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav, a Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, a Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon, lekol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon, lekol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'eineka levarech et amcha Yisrael b'kol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Okay, well, we are certainly in a very unusual but a very special time of our lives with everything that's going on. And, every week when I come here, and I'm usually here with the rabbi, tonight Ginger and Scott are with me, and Richie's always here. It's great. And when I'm doing the prayers, concentrating on the prayers. So I'm looking at the words, and I'm thinking what I'm singing, what I'm praying. And then I get up and I look out, and it hits you. There's nobody here besides us. And this has been going on for quite a while. And every week I kind of add it up in my mind how many weeks. I think it's 34 weeks now since we've had people here for services. And I hope it can get back to normal soon. Scott, what's our plan? What's our prognosis?
It's always good.
Speak in the mic.
It's always good. I always believe in goodness. So
what's going to happen?
Oh, I don't.
Well,
I don't know what's happened, but eventually we will get through this. We've gone through things like this. The history has shown us. History repeats itself, so we get through things like this. So this is an odd one. It's a long term, but I felt confident that it may take another year.
Another year, wow.
Before it actually all comes together. I really believe that. I don't think we're coming back. And, we've been saying this for a few weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks. The rest of this year, I don't see us going back, but I think I would give this a year before we're through it. But let's see. I hope I'm wrong, and maybe maybe by Pesach.
Well, maybe if we get a vaccine.
Oh, vaccines are common, but
it's going to take a while.
It takes a while. Like I said, I told you, I'm in that business, not the vaccine business, but the clinical research business, and a pharmaceutical drug takes about 10 years to go through all the trials. So you go from animal studies to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 3 already, what dose you want, what dose is going to basically work, and within about 8 to 10 years, and that's through approval. That's what it takes. So here we're on this fast track of getting this vaccine. And the reason why, going back, how many years it takes, because you're not only looking at the efficacy, meaning you want to make sure it works, you have to make sure it's very safe. So it might come out, and then obviously we do have those coming out shortly, but we don't have a real long safety record. So, but it is a vaccine, and we shall see.
Okay. Yeah, I was a few weeks ago. We were even talking maybe we'd be opening up soon here.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can. We'll talk about things that are coming up. For Hanukkah, we're going to have a drive-through Hanukkah. But now that the weather is getting cooler, I think we could maybe have something outdoors.
That would be great.
That's possible. And really, we're still in discussion of trying to bring this back inside. It's bare minimum. I'm not saying we're going to do it. This is going to be if the rabbi feels comfortable, but maybe having a certain number of congregants, our members come in.
Yeah.
But hopefully, look, I want to see everyone, and I know, what, I feel great when I could come back here. I'm lucky that I can be here with you, Ginger, see Richie, and be part of this, but I know most of our members want to be here as well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we can't allow that at this point. But everybody wants to get together. And I think if we could do this first, maybe outdoors with the congregation Friday night, hopefully the weather is forgiving, we don't have rain, and we do this outside, we do social distancing. We could possibly do that, and we'll still keep our numbers to a minimum, but let's see how it goes. Right now the word is this could get worse, and we don't want to take chances. We don't want anyone else getting this. So we have to watch, and let's see. I don't have an answer for that right now.
Okay. Sorry to hit you with a tough question.
It's not tough.
We just want to have an idea what's happening, We want to know.
Can we at least have Marlene's apple pie?
She misses the oneg.
Yeah, I don't think...
Marlene.
Yeah, food. We'll see. Look, that's
we miss Marlene's own
I
eggs.
think we definitely miss each other.
Yeah.
And it's so important. I think it's just important to our mental being that we start seeing each other. And, it's hard. We have relatives come over, friends, and it's hard not to hug people when you see them. So, my goodness, it's very... And I'm terrible at it. I need to be reminded, stay away.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, and some people are easy with it, but I think we have to be mindful and pay attention. It's easy to be a big shot, say, this is not a big thing, but obviously thousands, tens of thousands of people have died.
And they're sick.
And those are ill, and it's unfortunate. So why push it? Let's be careful.
Yeah. Won't it be great, though, when everybody's back here?
I can't wait.
And we see and everyone's here on Friday night. We enjoy seeing each other so much.
This is odd. I just have to imagine, like I said, every time I'm here, I imagine our congregants here.
And who could have seen this coming? Things we take for granted, that every week we just show up. You never know. You never know. Okay. Well, you know what? In a few days from now is Veterans Day. And we usually have a ceremony at our cemetery, Temple Bethel Memorial Gardens. This year, with everything going on, we're not doing it. So we're going to kind of do what we can tonight to talk about the veterans a little bit. And Veterans Day is November 11th. And that's a holiday that, I don't know, can kind of be overlooked. But we should never overlook it. In fact, I know all of the veterans buried in our cemetery, Dawn and her staff put American flags at the grave of each one. So when you go there, it's really something. You see the American flags for all the men who served. And, when I think of that, I have a friend of mine who I knew from my previous temple before I came here. And he died a young guy, and his family was kind of like stuck in a situation, and we worked it out with our people at our cemetery where they buried him there. And I used to talk to him. He hated being in the Army. Oh, my God, did he hate being in the... I don't know how many people would love it, but some people just really have a hard time in it. And I might have been one of those guys. You never know. And I know exactly where he's buried. He's buried right near Ginger's mom. And I go over there, and I always see the flag by him, my friend Barry Leibowitz. So I was thinking of him this week. And I was just thinking for the last few days about some of the people I've known. I have known 3 members of this temple who fought at D-Day. Can you imagine that? You fought at D-Day. And, you know, the chances were very high that you weren't coming back from that. And I know Dr. Maury, who was a wonderful guy. He had an aliyah here on his 100th birthday on a Saturday morning. He was there at D-Day. And Audrey Efros's late husband, Jerry, was there. He was a bomber pilot. He was in the planes. He was a young man and shaped his whole life. And we had an amazing man here named Mo Klein, who Mo Klein was a bomber pilot, and I think he was number 2 in the whole country for the number of missions that he flew, bombing Nazi Germany. And he just kept on wanting to go up and do more. He flew 50-some missions. It was like 53 or 54 missions over Nazi Germany. A real hero. So we had some real heroes in this temple. Then we have the other men, like our friend Owen, who served in Vietnam, who would lead our ceremony every year at Veterans Day. I was thinking of him. And I was just thinking of other people. I mean, I remember guys that I worked with, before I was a cantor. I worked for some newspapers. And I worked with some older guys, like in the 1980s, who fought in World War II. I had a friend of mine who was an amazing guy, a real character. His name was Pat Lynch. And he was this man was a character above characters. He was just a newspaper man, and he was he wrote about the horse races, and he didn't go around bragging, but when he passed on, I knew he'd been in Germany. He was a very highly decorated soldier, and he was buried in Arlington. And I have another friend of mine who was buried in Arlington, a guy that grew up around the block from me who won the Congressional Medal of Honor. And there were 6 brothers, and I was a little kid. And I knew Mike. Everybody in the neighborhood knew him. And they named the VA hospital for him in Philadelphia. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor, and if you go downtown Philadelphia by the river, they have a statue of him. So I was thinking of Mike. Ginger, I was thinking of your Uncle Jack. We saw his grave. He's buried in a military cemetery in San Diego. So, Scott, you have anyone you were thinking of on Veterans Day this week?
My dad served World War II, but it's in the Royal Air Force.
Yeah, and for where was it?
In the Royal Air Force.
In Britain? Wow, how about that?
And his brother was in the Royal Navy.
You got to speak in the mic so we hear you.
Yeah, my dad was in the Royal Air Force.
Yeah.
And his brother served in the Royal Navy.
Wow. They grew up in London?
Liverpool.
Liverpool. Oh, with the Beatles. Okay. How about that? My dad was in World War II. He was in the Philippines, yeah.
Which service?
He was in the Army. And Rich, your dad was in the Philippines too, right? In the Army? Most of those guys in that generation, they didn't like to talk about it. They didn't talk about it too much. If I asked my father, he would tell me some things, but he didn't want to talk about it. And these guys really did something. So I had something that I wanted to read here, and I'm glad I remembered it. This is short, but it's very poignant. I found this on a website for veterans, okay? And this is just very poignant. Here it says, this was written on Veterans Day a few years ago. It said, today we observe Veterans Day, a day set aside to honor our veterans and to show appreciation for the courage and patriotism of all the men and women who have served in the military. From the fields and forests of war-torn Europe to the jungles of Southeast Asia, from the deserts of Iraq to the mountains of Afghanistan, brave patriots have protected our nation's ideals, rescued millions from tyranny, and helped spread freedom around the globe. America's veterans answered the call when asked to protect our nation from some of the most brutal oppression the world has ever known. Military service demands a special kind of sacrifice. The places where you are sent to live and serve bring risk every day. From the time you put on that military uniform for the first time the interests of the nation move to the forefront and define your life. Those duties are ultimately shared by family members who make many sacrifices of their own, sometimes bearing the burden of losing a loved one. Service brings rewards as well. There is the pride in developing one's own character, serving a cause far greater than self-interest. Every man and woman who wears America's uniform is part of a long, unbroken line of achievement and honor. No single military power in history has done greater good, shown greater courage, and liberated more people, or upheld higher standards of decency and valor than the armed forces of the United States of America. That is a legacy to be proud of, and those who contributed to it must never be taken for granted. To honor our veterans, we must keep the promises we made to them. We must care for those who have been injured in the service of our country. We must honor and remember those who have died, and we must remember those whose fate is still undetermined. We fly the prisoner of war flag on Veterans Day for a reason, to show that this nation will not relent until we have accounted for every last one of our missing Americans. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all your sacrifice for this great nation. Thank you for being the backbone of America. Can't thank them enough. And you know what? When I was reading that, I was thinking, I know I'm leaving out some people, but I know some members of our temple who I deal with on a regular basis. They're an integral part of our temple. I know Stanley, our friend Stanley Leskin and Bob Goldberg. They served in uniform, and they did their part. And I'm sure there's other people here too that I'm forgetting. So if I didn't say your name, I ask your forgiveness. But Wednesday is Veterans Day, so we're never going to forget. And there's another day, that's on the 11th. Now, on April 9th, there is a special historical date that is not an American holiday per se, but for Jews it's a day we'll never forget. April 9th, 1938 was Kristallnacht. That's the night of the broken glass. And that's the night that historians point to as really the start of the Holocaust. And that night, they had riots throughout Germany and Austria, and they were made to appear spontaneous, but they were not. They were planned. And on that night, over 7,500 Jewish businesses were looted and destroyed, and their windows were broken. Over 30,000 Jewish men were rounded up and taken to concentration camps on that one night. And this was the first time that the Nazis made massive arrests of Jewish people specifically because they were Jewish. So that was the beginning of it all, Kristallnacht, November 9th, 1938. And I had a friend of mine who I've spoken of several times in services. She was the most amazing woman I've ever known, my friend Hardy. And she lived in Philadelphia after she survived the war, and she was from Berlin, and she was one of 89 people in her family. She was the only one out of 89 to survive the war, and she was in a concentration camp for 3.5 years. And she told me about Kristallnacht. I would talk to her every week, and she would tell me stories about it, and she would tell you everything. And hearing someone who survived it, I mean, she told me that on that night, Kristallnacht, many synagogues were burned to the ground. And they broke the windows in the synagogues and they burned them. And she woke up that night and she heard the sirens and the breaking glass and the crowds in the street. And she woke up and she ran out of the house. She actually lived in a beautiful, beautiful apartment. Her father was a very successful businessman, and she grew up very, very well off. And she ran out by herself, and she was kind of like a daredevil. She was a great athlete. She was a swimmer and a runner. And she ran down to her synagogue, and she told me this several times. She ran down to her synagogue in Berlin, and she saw it being burned to the ground. And she was standing there, and she saw the mobs around it, and they were breaking every glass, every window in the synagogue and looting it, and just tearing it apart and screaming. And she had a secret that she held in for over 50 years, over 60 years maybe. And she told me and she told my brother about it, where when she saw them destroying her synagogue, she was so enraged, and a rock came rolling towards her, and she told me about it, and she said it was like slow motion. She was kind of like out of her body. She kind of did something, and she picked up the rock and she threw it at the Nazi, one of the Nazis near her, and she splattered his brains. And as she said she thinks she killed the guy. And she didn't talk about it for years and years. And she ran home that night. And she said her heart was beating out of her chest. And she thought, oh my God, what have I done? They're going to kill me. They're going to kill my mother and father. As it turned out, everybody in her family was killed. But she lived. And then she told me the next day she went out and she went by the synagogue, and it had been burned to the ground. And she said it was right across the street from the Berlin Zoo. That's what she told me. It was right across the street from the zoo in Berlin. And she went out there the next day, and they had the Torahs out there. The Torahs had been taken out of the synagogue, and they were laid out on the smoldering ruins of the synagogue. And she said they had let the animals out of the zoo, and they had elephants defecating on the Torahs. And she told me stories like this that you just don't read anywhere. And she wasn't supposed to, they had all kinds of things. You weren't supposed to be out that day, but she was a courageous, courageous woman, and horrible things happened. But we have to remember that's what happened on November 9th, 1938. That was the beginning of the Holocaust, and from that time on, things got worse, progressively worse. And that was the turning point right there, and there was no turning back from there. So we have to learn from it. We have to learn from it to always be vigilant, always be strong, and keep our eyes open to what's really happening around us. So those are the things that are coming up this week, and we've had a heck of a week with this election, so hopefully we're turning into better times, and 2021 is going to bring good things for us. Now, we're going to do a prayer for healing, Mishe Berach, which would be on page 371. Mishe Berach. This week, I'd like to add a few names. We would like to say a prayer for healing for Connie Glazer, for Barry Meyerson, for Elise Siegel-Chin, for Richard Van Voorhees, for Bernie Besserman, and for Dan O'Brien. Ginger, you have anyone you want to say it for?
Well, my sister Helen's getting an operation. So.
Okay, so say your name.
Helen Paulson.
Okay, Scott?
No.
Okay. Rich, you have anyone? Okay, so at home you can say their names when we envision good healing and health for these people. Life is great when you have your health. All right, we're on page 371. Mishe Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBraka Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBraka Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Our concluding prayers begin on page 586. We rise for the Aleinu. And we open the ark. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, שלא עצרנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתקמים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. Let's be seated. There's a beautiful prayer on page 591. Anytime I get the chance to lead services, I try to include this prayer. I just think this is magnificent. Page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. Okay, now, this week, our music is sponsored by Bonnie and Steve Oppenheim. We thank them. Thank you, Bonnie and Steve. You've sponsored it quite a few weeks, and we are very grateful. Thank you very much. And we're celebrating some birthdays this week, adult birthdays. Samantha Carson, Amy Hausman, Lorena Behar Mukamal, Dr. Yoav Barnavan, Jillian Mallinson, and Mark Schultz. And we were talking about Allie in the weigh-in tonight. Allie's birthday, Allie McCauley, is this week. Anniversary, Natalie Kaminsky and Yair Sharf, and Danae and Scott Owens. So we wish you all the best, all of you who are celebrating those beautiful events. Okay, now, we're going to turn to page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. This week we are observing the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Hyman Edelman, Ethel Aram, Hannah Badian, Sadie Berger, Lois Ann Beagleson, Harry Bierman, Abraham Brody, Samuel Bernstein, Ray Engelman, Carl Firestone, Martin Friedman, Stephen Green, Henry Grossman, Theo Golan, Leo Handelman, Victor Hendler, Max Himmelson, Elliot Horowitz, Miriam Karp, Meyer Kirstner, Jack Kramer, Irving Koresh, Barbara Maurer, Ada Marshall, Manuel Morris, Patricia Perlstein, Lester Robinson, Seymour Scharf, Benjamin Siegel, Harry Simons, Ruth Steinberg, Gertrude Stoller, Rose Tanofsky, David Wisso, and Doris Zuckerman. And I see Mr. Handelman's name on there. And I remember he was a captain in the U.S. Navy in World War II. And he captained the ships that took the troops over to the Pacific. Okay, we are also in the Shloshim period, the 30-day mourning period, following the passing of Natalie Hayden, Jan Letterman, Elaine Rudner, a very, very special presence in our temple for many years, Elaine Rudner, Vicki Lipton, Ginger's aunt, Morton Kalin, a beautiful man who did a lot for our temple, and Marcia Rapp, a past president of our temple. Okay, so we pray for their souls, that they be lifted in the world to come. When we say the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'yamad divrah kerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, Bagala Visman Kari Vimromain. Yehe Shmei Rabam Varak Leolam Olamel Maya. Yitbarak Vishtabak Yitpa'ar Vitromam Vitnasei. Vitadar Vitalev Vitalal. Shemei de Kudisha Barichu. Le'ela Minko Birchata Vishirata. Tush Bechata V'nechemata. Da Amiran Bi'ama Vimromain. Yehe Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chayim Aleinu V'alka Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu V'alka Yisrael V'imru Amen. May the one who causes harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. Scott, do you have some announcements for us?
Sure do.
All right.
All right. So, obviously, those who are watching us on one of our programming services.
Yeah.
So either on live stream, Facebook Live, YouTube, or Roku. So hopefully you're watching on one of us, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see us without being on one. But if one of them go out, you could always turn to Facebook, YouTube, Roku, or, of course, our live stream. Sisterhood and Women's Spirituality Group are requesting donations of personal and feminine hygiene products for the Jewish Federation's Dignity Project. And we are continuing for food donations in our community. So you could bring all your donations to the temple. This is the back entrance. Monday through Friday, there are large boxes that you will see, and you could place it in there. Oh, let's see, before I get to that. Tomorrow morning, are we still doing that Torah study at 9:30? Kent?
Yeah, sure.
Good. Followed by that. And Sunday at 9:30 with Miss Barbara, JLC, and Tefillah. Monday at 11 is the transitional yoga. 7 o'clock is Women's Spirituality Group on Zoom. Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning, morning meditation and intention. 12 o'clock is the Nash and Shmoosh is back. Oh, I'll talk a little bit more about that. Wednesday is Veterans Day, and the temple is closed, so no programs. Thursday at 9 a.m. is the Minyan. 10:30 is the Sisterhood meeting on Zoom. And 6 o'clock, you may know about this cantor, everything you always wanted to know about Judaism with our own Cantor Manny. And, of course, next Friday at 9:30 a.m. is the morning meditation and intention, followed at 6:30 by a Shabbat service. That's the family, I'm sorry, that's 6:30 is the family Shabbat service. And then 7:30 our Shabbat services. So continuing, let's see, we have quite a number of things going on. And they give me all these things. As Cantor just alluded to a little while ago, Friday, November 6th, which is
Today.
yeah.
Today's
So we
Friday,
did that,
November
right? So
6th.
we already had that. Right, Veterans Day. And next Friday, November 13th, is Camp Family Shabbat with Ms. Barbara. That's at 6:30 on either Facebook, live stream, Roku, or YouTube Live. Then that's followed by the Shabbat service with Rabbi Tufts and Cantor Manny. And again, all live streamed on Facebook. I talked about the Sisterhood meeting, which is Thursday, November 12th at 10:30 in the morning on that's on Zoom. Tuesday, November 10th is Nash and Shmooze. So grab a lunch and basically go in for the conversation with Kirill Altman. He's from the USSR from the USSR to the USA, and what it means to be a Jewish immigrant. So pretty interesting. And Richie, can I have a little polka music?
Little polka music, Rich.
Can you do a little Lawrence Welk?
Oh, yeah.
Yvonne and
Thank you, Richie.
okay, thanks.
Little polka music, please.
And you might be saying, why polka music? It has nothing to do with anything. It's just that the January 30th, we have a polka tournament. Two different things, but
Not polka.
right,
Poker.
just poker.
Yeah.
All right, so that's January 30th, and that's at 7 o'clock. This is also virtual. So I'll give you some, by the way, with this virtual poker, anyone can play. And even if you don't play, you can learn how to play. And on top of that, invite a friend. And they can live anywhere. So if you're watching this and you don't live over here, it doesn't matter. You could play. You could play, if you live in another city, another state, another country like Pennsylvania or Arizona. That was a joke. They're not different countries. I'm I'm just saying because what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, thank you for the laughter. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Now, going back to the poker tournament. So this is going to be a big to-do, and that's why I'm spending a little bit of time on that. So we need sponsors, and you could sponsor this tournament, and there's different levels. So, for example, you could have for $1,000, that's all in, and then you get the name of your company logo on the event, marketing materials, and all social media, and all email blasts, and you get 4 poker entries valued at $400. You get a full-page ad in the Temple newsletter for 2 issues, and that's valued at $1,000. For $500 is the Royal Flush. You get your name or company logo on the event, marketing materials, and all social media. And you get 3 poker entries valued at $300, and you get a half page in the Temple newsletter, and that's valued at $500. $360, you get the straight flush. Name or logo on event marketing materials and all social media. You get 2 poker entries valued at $200 and a quarter page in the Temple newsletter. And for $180, you get 1 poker entry valued at $100. You get a business card ad in the Temple, a newsletter for 2 issues, and that's valued at $160. So that's a real cool thing to do. And really, everyone should come in. Like I said, you have friends, relatives, call them up and let them know about this. So it's going to be a great thing. Our Connections just came out, so hopefully you all read it. And you know who was in that magazine? You know who was in Connections this week? Cantor.
And you're in there?
I was there. And all the things you need to know about the Temple. So make sure you read that, and those are the announcements.
And they list the birthdays for the coming months.
All right.
Little trivia fact, we share the same birthdays, Scott and I.
All right.
New Year's Eve.
You get to celebrate New Year's Eve.
It's happening already. Wow.
New Year's Eve will be here.
And it's hard to believe that. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's 9 months we've been doing this. I know you asked me before, but it's almost 9 months since we've been in this situation, and
It's wild.
you know, Cantor made a nice compliment when I came and said, "You dressed very nice," and I said, "You know, this is the only time I get dressed up is when I get to go to Temple." So not only do I look forward to coming here, but I look forward to being able to put on something nice besides a T-shirt and shorts.
It's nice to get dressed up.
Yeah, it makes you feel good. So hopefully we get everybody back together on that.
Yeah, that would be great. Now, our sponsors tonight who sponsored Richie, and I got to tell you, Richie, you played beautiful. Played beautifully. You can go to a lot of temples in this country. You're not going to find anybody who plays like Richie. I mean, the way he plays Vishamru, it's like it's an interpretation. It's beautiful. And all these things. So, but Bonnie and Steve are big Frank Sinatra fans, and they jokingly gave me a little kind of a thing. They told me, they said, listen, we'll sponsor, but you have to sing a Frank Sinatra song every week. So I picked out a song this week that I would imagine most of you never heard before. You have to be a real Frank Sinatra fan to know this song, and I am. So I knew this song. This song was on his album in the 1970s called Old Blue Eyes Is Back, after he retired for a year. And there's an interesting story behind this song. It's called Winners, and it's from a movie called Maury, which was a little-known movie. I'd like to look for it. I'm going to look for this movie on YouTube. This movie was about a basketball player named Maurice Stokes. Did you ever hear of Maurice Stokes? He played professional basketball for the Cincinnati Royals, and the Cincinnati Royals are no longer a team. And the Cincinnati Royals, he played for the Cincinnati Royals, and one night he was playing, and he went driving for the basket, and there was some kind of collision with the other players, and he fell, and he hit his head on the floor. And he got up, and he thought he was okay, and then the next day he was really in bad shape. And then it went downhill from there, and within a day or two, this vibrant young man was paralyzed, and he never walked again. But the story goes on from there. I believe he was from Philadelphia. I think he was from Philadelphia, where I come from. And he was a black guy, and he had a teammate on the team who was a great player, Jack Twyman. For those of you basketball fans, you might remember Jack Twyman. He became an announcer in later years. He did the Game of the Week with Chris Schenkel, Jack Twyman and Chris Schenkel. Jack Twyman was a white guy. And he and Maurice Stokes were the best of friends When Maurice Stokes could no longer take care of himself, Jack Twyman actually adopted him. Can you imagine that? And Maurice Stokes needed 24-hour care. He needed 24-hour care, and for the rest of his life, Jack Twyman took care of him. And that's brotherhood, boy. And so this song was written for that movie, and it's called Winners, and it was written by a guy who was a pretty darn good songwriter, Joe Raposo, who wrote the songs for Sesame Street. You know, sing a song. He wrote that, and he wrote It's Not That Easy Being Green. And he wrote a song that Richie used to play by Frank Sinatra, You Will Be My Music. He wrote that. But he also wrote this song, Winners. So this is a very inspiring song for Veterans Day. And for all of us, we can just try to live like brothers and be the best we can be. So here it is, Winners. Here's to the winners. Lift up the glasses. Here's to the glory still to be. Here's to the battle, whatever it's for, to ask the best of ourselves and give much more. Here's to the heroes. Be. Here's to the heroes, those who move mountains. Here's to the miracles they make us see. Here's to all brothers. Here's to all people. Here's to the winners. All of us can be. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
And we're going to remember to make the motzi. Shabbat Shalom. Have a beautiful Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom. There you go, Ginger. Get a piece of challah. Scott, thank you. Thank you, Rich. Beautiful.